It's leading the world for daily COVID-19 infections. Over 300,000 new cases in just one 24-hour period. Alarming reports as well of people robbing hospital of oxygen stocks, desperate to help their relatives breathe. Let's discuss this now. From Delhi in India, independent journalist Pavni Mittal joins us. Pavni, thank you so much for your time. Seeing the reports, it sounds absolutely awful. What is the latest news you have for us?
You know, you're right. It's really the apocalypse right now. You said, 300,000 plus cases, and I can promise you these are conservative estimates, and that's because I'm in New Delhi, and it's hard to get a test, and it's hard to get a test result very soon. So you're actually going to see cases pile up because the results are still coming in. We're also learning from, people on Twitter and anecdotally that, you're not even getting tests in some states because, there is pressure from the government to sort of control the numbers. These were something, a month and a half ago now, I was in New York at the time. I had friends who were, going out. The government was saying, we sort of defeated the virus. You still have political rallies going on. You had religious gatherings. And all of a sudden, the cases, just skyrocketed, the virus behaving as it always behaves, circulating, mutating, and then you see a complete surge. And what you're seeing right now is also complete collapse in the medical infrastructure. There are no hospital beds. People are struggling to find oxygen. A hospital actually in Maharashtra, which is the state where you have Mumbai, actually had an accident where oxygen leaked and around 24 people died. So what you're seeing right now is complete chaos. There's a lot of anger, a lot of despair.
I mean, it sounds utterly awful. I was reading a little earlier about that accident where in a heartbeat, the oxygen supply that was keeping those people alive in that hospital just cut. And there was a leak and those people just died. It must have been utterly horrific in that hospital at that time. Also seeing images of people stealing oxygen for their family members. Is it going to still get worse? I mean, apparently there are indications that India might not have hit the peak of this wave.
We don't know that yet because right now what you're seeing is, the peak, or hopefully what's the peak in, Delhi and, Mumbai and Maharashtra. So we still don't know where the virus is in smaller towns and cities, and it does take time to travel there. Remember, you've had political rallies, you've had religious gatherings, and those people are still going home. And coming back to the accident that you spoke about, I mean, that is the chaos. Like right now, oxygen, medical oxygen is what people are really struggling to get. And then you have that same commodity leak in a hospital and people just die because of negligence. I mean, they are going to launch an investigation into that, but that is the horrifying reality of what people are going through. In fact, if you go through Twitter timelines of people in India, it's full of people asking for help, amplifying help. And the feeling is that, people don't see any response from the government. There's a lot of anger then. So citizens are really coming together to help with information, with, how do I get plasma? Where can I get oxygen? I mean, I have friends who found hospital beds 4 hours away from New Delhi. And this is, New Delhi has probably the best medical facility in the country, and they're not able to get any help over here. So they're actually traveling hours away to find a hospital bed with oxygen.
India, of course, is a country of 1.3 billion people, so any pandemic is going to be a massive challenge. But for a while, it seemed that India was coping. The vaccines have been rolling out, and it seemed that India might escape the worst. Why do you think it's come to a sort of critical mass at this point, even as the vaccines are being rolled out?
It's bewildering bravado and brazenness. There was a feeling after the last wave, I think September, October, that, we've defeated the virus. So, the economy couldn't handle the lockdown. So that was important to open up. But what people are now pointing out is that the messaging from the government and the authorities has been that, we've defeated the virus. Everyone around the world was talking about how India had done well, how it had escaped what, UK, France, and US, which is, where I primarily live, had gone through. And, there was a complacency, and the virus just kept circulating and skyrocketing to a point where nobody knows. Things just went out of control. And the lockdown is not a good word here, because what happened last year was a lot of economic devastation, a very large chunk of the Indian economy is unorganized. So you had laborers who were just fleeing home in droves, walking home, and that was a human tragedy of the lockdown last year around this time. So there's been a lot of hesitancy to actually, sort of put the economy on hold, but you've had no choice over here. Delhi, Maharashtra, there is a virtual lockdown, but still the numbers are not ending. And I think where the anger is that there's a religious gathering up north that's still taking place. You have an election happening in Bengal, and you have the top ministers holding huge mass rallies over there. So, you have photographs of people trying to get oxygen versus, politicians hosting rallies.
It's astonishing and absolutely horrific. And thank you so much for telling us the very latest coming from India. Independent journalist Pavni Mittal coming to us from New Delhi. 2,000 deaths a day, thereabouts, from COVID-19 in India. And the death toll in total, 184,000. But the point that Pavni making, that 300,000 new cases a day is a conservative estimate, because even in big centres such as Delhi, getting a test is a really difficult thing to do. We are so not through this pandemic yet.